I wanted to chat this week about stress. And Levi and I saw a very good example of this on Sunday, but we came home and ended up not recording it. So he is at work right now. So I just wanted to chat with you guys, I guess, by myself. And hopefully it's still interesting and dynamic and fun to listen to without my co host. So I've been thinking a lot about how if you are not actively practicing stress relieving practices every day, then you are stressed. So nobody taught me this as a child, which I think is really, really important. The first thing kids should learn in school is how to breathe deeply in a way that connects them with themselves. And being in sports all my life, I feel like that was such an optimal opportunity to teach how to breathe. And I was taught as a gymnast, in through your nose, out through your mouth, but it was all very much in a stress state. Everything we did was in a stress state. There was no practice on how to bring ourselves down and how to really be in our body. So I remember going to the doctor with stomach pain. I had a lot of that around age 12. And it so clearly was tied to stress and anxiety. And after running millions of tests, the doctors, of course, then finally asked me that question as a 12-year-old. Nothing's wrong with you, so are you stressed? And I remember my mom looking at me like, are you stressed? And I don't even know, I didn't even know what that, of course I was like, no, I'm not stressed, because I had never felt not being stressed. I had never not been stressed. My operational zone was stressed and anxious, and so I was perpetually stressed and living in that state. And I just remember when you are in that place, for me, I was desperate for the authority to tell me what's wrong with me. I wanted so badly for the doctors to find something wrong with me so that they can give me a pill, or I couldn't even take pills as a kid, so that they could give me a children's liquid medicine and fix me. But now I see it so differently, and I see how incredible it is that we can fix and heal all of our own situations without going to a scary, sterile, creepy, dead energy doctor's office. So I wanted to give some examples of how I've been seeing this recently and what's really helped me bring myself into connection with my body and live in the opposite of a stress state, live in the parasympathetic. And the way that doing that can clear anxiety, stomach pain, those were my main things. But it can clear many type of physical ailments, because stress really is the underlying cause of most things. And I don't think that's a crazy statement. I think a lot of people agree with that, but I think a lot of people just kind of brush it off and basically say, there's nothing I can do, my lifestyle, my job, every life is stressful. And so I want to touch on that piece, and then I also want to touch on active daily practices to intentionally spend time bringing yourself into that parasympathetic state, so that no matter how stressful your life is, and maybe you can't control it, then you at least do have moments of relief. And that can do wonders, especially first thing when you wake up in the morning, to start your day in a good state, and then in the evening before you go to sleep, because sleep is your power detox moment. And if you are able to intentionally get into the parasympathetic before you go to bed, that can do wonders, and you don't even need to touch on what's going on in the middle of your day, because I know that can be like a more of a long game and harder to change. So cheers, grab your tea, grab your natural biodynamic wine, grab your coconut water, orange juice, mineral mocktail. Cheers to stress relieving practices. Okay, so what stemmed this conversation is on Sunday, Levi and I went to the lake and we were paddleboarding. And by the way, we've been doing that a lot and it's so fun. I love how we go on the same paddleboard, and it's super funny because I always watch everyone on their own paddleboards and that's cute, but I love the simplicity of like just one paddleboard that he carries, and then he paddles me around. And then of course I'm not lazy. I like to move too. So after we like get out into the middle and swim a bit, then I like to paddle us back. And it's really fun to like be on the same paddleboard. I don't know if I've never seen anyone else do it at the lake. So I just wanted to say that here, that it's really fun. We almost sink it sometimes, but it's really fun. But we were out there paddling, and on the trail up above the lake, while we were in the middle of the lake swimming, we heard a lady like screaming someone's name. And so we were like, oh no, maybe they lost their kid or their dog, whatever. And then we didn't think anything of it. And so then it was probably 20 to 30 minutes later where we paddled back to go home, like back to the parking lot. And there were two other people paddling in on boards behind us. And then this lady comes down from the trail and she is screaming at these people behind us that are on paddle boards. It's like a 13-year-old boy who I'm guessing is her son, and then another lady who is either like her friend or her sister or something like that. So she is screaming about how she's walked around this whole lake and basically screaming the F word. And it's so funny. Speaking of, every podcast with Levi I put as explicit, but then all the ones by myself, I don't think I use any bad words most often, so I just don't put them as explicit. So that's just funny. One thing, I'm not going to use any words because when I do it by myself, I don't put explicit because I don't really say that much. Anyways, sidetracked. Basically the whole point was the lady walking on the trail apparently didn't know where these two people who went out paddleboarding went. And apparently they were supposed to meet, or she was probably going to walk to a spot where they could like all sit out on a towel and they were going to paddleboard to that spot. Anyways, the lady on the trail, I guess, like couldn't find them. They went out paddleboarding. She walked the trail and she didn't see them out on the lake. So she really did walk the full lake because we saw her on the way opposite end. And so she was walking around, probably panicking. She couldn't find her family, her son and her sister is my guess. And this lady she was probably in her 40s. So just for context, like two 40-year-old ladies and like a 13-year-old boy. So as we're pulling our paddleboard in to leave, this lady is just laying in to her son and her sister, like screaming at them of like just repeating herself. And that's the thing that I noticed is she was so upset and emotional that she just kept repeating herself, saying what happened, that I couldn't find you. I walked this entire lake. What's wrong with you guys? And the people on the paddleboards were like shut down. Like the son, he was just like, oh, like they didn't even know what to say to this lady. And it just made me realize and think about how anyone who is not regulated, not in their body, this situation plays out all the time. Like all the time. You like get upset, especially at your family members, the people you're closest to, and you want to express so hard, like, I want you to get how mad that I am. You scared me, or you inconvenienced me. I've been walking around not enjoying myself while you guys are out paddleboarding, and I want you to understand how upsetting that is. And she just kept on repeating herself, but never getting to the root. And I told Levi in the car that this is what people do all the time, and I've done this, and I think he's done this too, where like you just are raging at the people that are closest to you, when really, if you were in touch with yourself and if you could take a beat and get to the root of the problem, it would be over. All she needed to do in that moment is take a second, breathe, and then tell her son and her sister, I could not find you guys and I was really scared. And now that you're here, I'm feeling really mad that I've just spent so much time walking around looking for you, and I have so much emotion right now because I was freaking out. I think her family would have reacted immediately and just said, I'm sorry. And then that's it. That's the end. The second you get to the root of your emotion, it's gone. So it just was like a reminder to me to practice more of that. And I know we kind of brought it up last week that Levi is more so the one that's open to like letting everyone know his emotions. So I think that's a big, big, big practice for anyone who's also like him in that way, where you are gonna like tell everyone how mad you are. The second you can catch yourself doing that and then get to the root and tell the people like genuinely what's wrong, it can save so much heartache, because everyone at the entire lake was like so annoyed with this lady. She was being insane. But we all do it. It's just like some people do it publicly and others don't. So like for me, I probably would never do that publicly. I'm sure I have, like when I was drunk or something, because then you kind of lose your shame in front of like strangers. But more often than not, I would probably keep things pent up, which is also not healthy because that ends up resulting in self-destructive things. So like you might exude disease or illness because you're not moving your emotions. You're holding them in. Or what ends up happening is maybe you don't act like that in public, but when you're in the privacy of your own home, your husband or wife, your kids or your parents, they will take the brunt, and you'll feel comfortable like screaming at them of like, I'm so mad, F you guys, you hurt me, you inconvenience me, what's wrong with you? And you just keep on repeating basically because you want people to understand how mad you are. So everybody does it, whether you do it publicly or not. And I think it's really nice to check that, because I've just realized it's just cool when you see it happening and you're able to understand that I've also been in that place, but I really don't have those moments anymore, at least not in a long time. And I'm able to recognize, like, most people would brush that off and be like, what's wrong with that lady? She's insane. She's disturbing the peace. But I was able to see, like, no, there's no reason to, like, other this lady. Like, I'm gonna other her. She's nothing like me. She's embarrassing. She's shameful, because we all act like that. Everybody does. So it's just a matter of catching it and realizing that you don't need to go down that road. So that brought me to like, how did I end up getting out of that cycle? And actively practicing stress relief helps you navigate stressful situations and not get so riled up because you're more centered and grounded within yourself. So there's a lot of things I do for that, and I want to kind of take you through it and the importance of it, because before I did these practices, I was like, my new baseline was high stress. And you think that that's normal until you do these practices and realize that I'm operating at like 99, and once I get to 100, I'm gonna explode. And it's just really not a nice place to live, but you don't even know that it's like you're not feeling great. And I think a lot about how every situation we are in, every single thing in our life is stressful, and people don't get that. Like, even if I go hang out with my friends, and these are all great friends that are positive, uplifting people, and I feel good, the conversations we have are productive and healthy, and I don't feel like they're picking on me, or I'm having to pretend that I agree with them when I don't. Like, I can go hang out with people that are great people. It's a positive interaction. It's a healthy communication and social event. But then I'm still going to leave that having just put out a lot of energy, a lot of like output to be social. And it's normal to leave feeling a little bit drained after something like that, whether it's positive or negative. And then especially with work, we get so used to going to work every day that you don't realize that the second you get off of work, you need like a moment, you need a practice to physically tell your body to release all that energy you picked up and settle in now that you're home. Otherwise, you are like continuing to stay at the stress as if you're still at work. So even if you clocked off, you're still on. Your body is still on and firing. And I think about like when I take my dogs on a walk, Captain is always, anytime there's someone on the other side of the road walking, he's like running sideways on his leash, trying to get to that person, trying to say hi, because he's friendly and he's cute. And if he gets to say hi to this person on the street, he'll like enjoy it. They'll pet him. He'll like crawl up their leg, and he loves it. But the second we leave that person's path, he will shake. And that's because he's shaking off the energy of like, I was just with someone that I'm not normally with. I was just picking up their energy. And even though it was positive and I was enjoying it and they were petting me, I need to shake that off and get back to, I'm with my family, I'm walking, and I'm safe. And he does that every time we see someone, even when we see my neighbor who he knows and he loves. She'll pet him, and then the second we go our separate ways, he'll shake it off. And then he does it, of course, during stressful situations, like when big dogs are always out off their leashes in our neighborhood, which is so scary, because even though they're people's dogs, like I have two small dogs, and I can't stand when a big dog runs up on us, because I just don't know like if it's safe. So I always freak out, and I think the dogs feel my stress. And also they're small, so they have a big dog coming at them. They're on a leash. Captain gets defensive. He'll start growling and trying to bite the dog, and then that makes it more dangerous. And the second we get away from that situation, same thing. He shakes, and then he's fine. So I think we need something like that for every situation we have. Like throughout the day, you take a phone call, then you need some type of practice to like release that energy that just was exchanged or given out. And then there are also a lot of small stressors that have become unconscious in today's like norms. Like when I'm going out on a walk in nature, that's a stress relieving practice. I do that on purpose for maintenance, to look at the trees, look at butterflies, see what I can see in nature. That is one of the practices that I do daily for like maintenance. But even while I'm out there, I'm sometimes walking past people's houses and like smelling their dryer sheets going, because it like pumps out the fumes from their house. That's a stress on my body. Going anywhere in public with all of people's energy and scents, that's a stress. Looking at your phone, the phone light is flickering, or being in a setting that has artificial lighting, those lights are flickering, and that is stressful on your brain and your body. So all of this stuff, we need to move out constantly. And watching TV or scrolling on social media, those type of things they don't move the energy out. They do not put you into parasympathetic. They keep you perpetually in that stress state. And so a lot of people never get out of that. So this all started for me when I was 23, and I was deep in the stress state I talked about on one of the early episodes, just being constantly feeling like I need to exercise 3 times a day, I need to be working, I need to be doing a million things all in one day. And I had one moment where I just was in my room by myself, and I put on a yoga class, and I had never really done yoga. I put on a class from YouTube, and it was the first time I like really connected with my body, and my eyes were closed. I was feeling my breath move in and out of my body. And that's when I started doing yoga every single day, because that was where I truly felt parasympathetic rest. And I'm not putting on a mask or putting on a performance or giving people a version of me that is anything. So that was the first time that I like really felt that there is something to this, and it makes sense. Like the way I've been operating is not serving me or anyone around me. And since then, I've just picked up a lot more of those type of moments and tried to infuse a bunch of those moments for personal connection and like meditative moments throughout the day to really bring my stress levels down. So yoga is a huge tool for me that I've kept first thing in the morning. It's incredible. And then journaling is amazing to connect with yourself. And then we talked about walks in nature. Another one is grounding. So sometimes just going out. It's nice to do this in the morning or evening. Just put your feet in the grass and like look up at the clouds. That really does something to your nervous system that you can feel. And then breath work is another one. And this is the one where I really wish I learned this sooner. I really wish, like as a kid, I was taught how to breathe deeply through my nose in a way that fills up my stomach, and like exhale longer than you inhale. And then also like humming or singing, which obviously I'm a horrible singer, but that's why every once in a while it's nice to go on a drive because you can sing. I love my Jeep because the windows are tinted so no one can see me. But humming, singing, doing an actual meditation where you're like vibrating your vocal cords with like Om, like the classic, that is actually really powerful for your nervous system. And these type of things, if you're not used to them, like I didn't grow up with them. It's kind of made fun of like, that's silly, that's stupid. But the second you actually feel it, you become a different human being. You go from the lady screaming at her loved ones at the lake because she's so upset to someone who is actually centered and grounded, and you can really see and feel and understand that it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And the sooner I can get to the root of what I'm feeling and move through that, the sooner I can enjoy myself and enjoy the people that I love, rather than continuing to yell and scream and try to prove how unhappy you are. It's not productive. It's a real waste of time. And that's why I think it's insane that kids don't learn this. This should be the first thing we teach children in school. And then if you're in sports, this is the first thing you should learn as an athlete in any type of sport. And I'm not blaming anyone for not teaching me this, because I even became a gymnastics coach after 10 years of being a gymnast and after 10 years of feeling like I was done wrong by the sport. And I knew the ways that it was hurtful and damaging to me, yet I became a coach and I perpetuated a lot of the same type of things that I didn't like. And I didn't know about this back then. I didn't know about breath work and connection with self and like stress relieving practices. So even when I was in a very powerful position where I could have helped a lot of young little girls, I didn't, because I didn't even know back then. So it's not to blame anyone. It's just like, once you do know this, you have to make it a priority, because it will change everything about who you are in the best way. So I love another type of breath work during yoga flows. It's called something that I don't really know. Kapalabhati breathing. That might not even be it. I just hear her say this. That might not be the one. But it's a type of breath work that while you're doing yoga, you breathe in through your nose and you like constrict the back of your throat, where you make like an ocean wave noise as you breathe out through your nose. That is super soothing and healing and amazing. So I love to do that in the morning. And then a new one that I've been doing is Qigong. And Qigong is like somatic meditation. And if you're someone who is not great with meditation, like I try to sit in meditation frequently, but in all honesty, like it's not a daily thing. Like I've been able to make yoga, journaling, walking a daily thing, breath work while I'm doing yoga. But like sitting in doing a breathwork practice alone, or sitting in doing a meditation alone, those are not things that I've been able to do every single day. I do try to incorporate them, but it kind of changed when I started doing Qigong, because Qigong is somatic, where you're moving your body while you're breathing, and it's incredible for your lymphatic system. So I always wanted to do lymphatic drainage every day, and so I gua sha and I dry brush, but I feel like I kind of don't do it enough. So Qigong has been something where it's everything. It's lymphatic flow, it's somatic meditation, it's breath work, it's movement. And if you've never done it, or if you're not familiar, it definitely feels silly and feels, if anyone is in the house, if anyone could see you do it, you're not going to do it, because you're going to feel goofy in front of people. But if you do have a moment or a room that you can close the door to, if you have any moments alone and you can just like try it without judging and just like close your eyes and try it. It's like I do like 20-minute, sometimes 15-minute videos, and it is really amazing. So it's like mobility for any age. So if I did it alone, like Qigong alone, I think of it more as meditation, but for like older people, they would think of it as like an exercise routine. So it really can work for anyone, any age. It's just like amazing mobility to keep your body strong and vital. It also focuses on like energy points in the body and then lymphatic drainage, all of the stuff to keep your energy moving. So qi in traditional Chinese medicine, that is your like life force, that is your energy, your soul's energy. So during qigong, you're focusing on moving that energy throughout the body. It really helps you move through emotions. And to me, I just think of it as like a meditation practice, but like one that I can actually get behind because it's so easy, but it feels so good that it is a bit like yoga to me, where it's like a no-brainer. Like I don't resist it. Whereas with EFT tapping, I haven't done it in a while, but I was in such a good routine for like 2 years of doing EFT tapping every day, and I fell off of it. So that one's hard for me to stick to. Meditation by itself and sitting breathwork by itself, I have a hard time doing those every day because I resist them. But Qigong, I feel like gives me all of it. And it just feels so good because you're moving. And maybe I am one of the people that's like, what, kinesthetic learner? Because I just feel it so much more when it is somatic. Like I feel like energy is moving out of my body and it actually changes the way I feel. So that's a new one for me and I love it. And I'll link some videos that I've been doing on YouTube so you can try it. But again, if this is new to you and if you think yoga is like woo woo, this is like another level, another step, but it feels so amazing. So if you have any alone time, you should definitely try it and see if it's something that you can do to bring your stress down and just live in a different state. So the last thing I kind of want to say on this is around overall lifestyle. If you're living in a stressful lifestyle, then these type of practices are going to be even more important for you. The thing that I've come to over a few years is that the second I got a taste of what it feels like to be safe and connected and grounded, I've become more, and I don't want to say sensitive. I think that's what people would call it most often, but I don't really think of it as sensitive. I think of it as aware. Like I'm no longer willing to put myself in situations that I know are going to harm me more than benefit me. And before learning these practices, before prioritizing the way that I feel and connecting with myself, I was not aware of how damaging the things that people normalize are. And I think it's a much better way to live, to be aware of what serves you and what doesn't, and choose when I'm going to actively, knowingly put myself in a place that doesn't serve me and then know how to support myself after the fact, rather than staying numbed out, staying blind to it all, because it is affecting you on levels that you're not understanding, because you really don't know how good you can feel until you get out of those situations and environments. I will say though, working a full-time job out of your home in an environment that you can control is very stressful. Living in a city or in a unnatural, like well-groomed neighborhood, artificial lighting and artificial neighborhoods, that is stressful. Having your phone on you and in your face and on your skin all the time, that is stressful. Not sleeping and rising with the sun, that is stressful. Eating artificial dead food, that is stressful. A lot of things today are stressful. So if you are engaging in those type of things, whether willingly or because you feel like you have to, it's even more important to carve out time in your schedule for moments away from that and moments of actively cleansing that out of your body so that these things don't build up, and then make you sick or make you mentally unwell and unhappy. I get that not everybody believes that they have a choice in like having a job or not and where they live and certain things, because I know finances plays a huge role, and that's also another stressor in life. But I think a lot of times people dismiss these type of conversations because they say like easy for you because you don't have to work, because your husband pays for your existence, because like you don't have the stress of other people. And I hope you guys can understand that that is 100% by design. I was not born with these blessings that no one else has. I very much was in the same place that is called normal, completely stressed out. And I chose to take steps in the direction of a life where it is low stress. And now I don't have to worry about a lot of the things that I used to worry about. And that is by design. It's not because I woke up one day and I was lucky. It's not because I met the right guy and he just swooped in and saved my life. None of that is real. And I think when you keep on telling yourself that story that other people are lucky and other people have it different than you keep yourself stuck. And I'm just telling you that I also didn't believe in this when I first met Levi, but I stayed very curious and very open-minded, and as I learned things, I tried them, I applied them, I learned how to feel within myself what's working, what makes sense. I talked to him a lot so that we stayed on the same page, and we were able to really carve out and craft what we wanted our life to look like, and we created this together. I did not just win the lottery and now I don't have to work anymore. This was years and years in the making, and everyone, no matter what your life looks like, no matter how much it seems like you have to work this job that you hate, everyone is capable of creating the type of life that they want. It just comes down to choosing to be open-minded to the type of things that feel hard or feel impossible, in just trying to move in that direction. We've had a lot of conversations on certain things that we've done and created together, my husband and I. And I think it's really powerful. So I get a lot of people don't want to hear about stress relief from someone who doesn't have to engage with the modern world all that much anymore. But I did come from there, and I chose to step out of it and that took many years. And now that I'm out of it, I'm still diligent about being as healthy and feel as great as I can. And these are the things that have helped me. And I do come from a upbringing that labeled everything I've talked about as like woo woo, weird, hippie, doesn't work, not real, all the things. And I'm telling you from experience, the things that have changed and healed my nervous system, my self-image, my health, the reason why I don't have to go to the doctor ever, and the reason I don't get sick is because of the ways that I've managed stress and prioritized my health and healing, and more so than I think anything else. It's been these type of meditative practices, yoga, breath work, walking in nature, grounding into nature, now qigong, these type of self-healing practices have been the most impactful. And it's helped me show up in the world as the type of person that I like, because nobody likes to be that lady that we saw at the lake. It doesn't feel good to be her. And I know that everybody knows that. Like when you know that you're just screaming at your husband because you just want him to know how mad you are and you just want him to take it all away because maybe it's his fault, that does not help you. That doesn't make you feel better because it puts a wedge in your marriage that leads to long-term problems. I think something that I heard recently that can kind of tie this all together, and I think there's nothing more important, but as the wife or as the woman or as the mother of a household, and these are all things that I hope to be in my life, a wife, a woman, and a mother, many of them overlapping, but your energy sets the tone for your home. It's a very powerful position, and if you are not checking yourself and practicing emotional regulation, everybody in the home is feeding off of you. And I just know for myself, I want to be a peaceful, loving, safe, relaxing, comforting energy. I don't want my home to have an energy of like pent up, walking on eggshells. Someone might flip out and explode at any second. And I get that that's not nice to hear because it is a change that has to be made and people don't like making changes. But the truth is nobody will ever change until you want to for yourself. So I think it has to come from that place. How do you want the energy of your home to be? And how do you want it to feel? If it's not there, there are things to try out. Connecting with nature more, connecting with your breath more. Those are key components. So, check your stress levels and see how it impacts every area. You'll notice when your stress is low, you will lose any type of inflammation or weight that you might be clinging to. Even when dieting or eating healthy living food hasn't worked, relieving stress usually will be the missing piece. And then you can even notice how your sleep feels deeper and more restful. Notice how your connection with your family and friends feels more loving and conscious and deep. There's so many facets to this. So, something to think about this week, and I hope that this gives you an idea for how you might take a step towards feeling less stressed, more in tune with yourself, and something you might want to try out. In my newsletter this week, I'm going to link to all my practices. So, like my favorite yoga video that you can start with, favorite qigong video you could start with, maybe a journal prompt, maybe a breathwork practice. I'll pull out everything I do is on YouTube. Also, I made like a pact with myself like a year or two ago that I'm not subscribing or buying anything, because there is so much free resources out there that I'm just not going to buy or subscribe to anything. So everything I do is free. So I will link it in the newsletter this week. Be sure to sign up if you're not already. And yeah, I hope this wasn't too triggering. And if it was, check that. I'm always trying to notice triggers, and instead of making it the other person's problem, write about it. Why is this triggering to me? Why is this so annoying to me? And that can be a huge helpful practice too. So thanks for listening. I hope you have a beautiful week. Cheers to stress relieving practices, because if you're not practicing stress relief, you are perpetually stressed. So let's get out of that and let's get into parasympathetic. All right, cheers.